The Economic Development Cluster of Cabinet met this afternoon, and we are proposing 14 measures to alleviate the impact of the crisis on the people. So let me go through each of the 14 items. The first is on the overall economy, is to shift to alert level 1 at the soonest possible time for the entire country and open all the schools for face-to-face learning to increase our domestic economy and offset the external risk. So while we cannot prevent the risk from coming from the global perspective, we can strengthen our domestic economy to provide the people with more jobs and opportunities. The second one on gasoline and diesel, as you know, the price of gasoline and diesel has went up so much, no? So we are proposing the following interventions. The first is to increase fuel subsidy program for public utility vehicles from the already announced 2.5 billion to 5 billion. So we will double the subsidy. And the first tranche will be given in March and the second tranche in April. Number two is to continue working with the private firms on promotional discount of oil companies up to 1 to 4 peso per liter discount. So this will help alleviate additional for the jeepneys and the other PUVs. Number three is to increase our buffer stock of petroleum from the current 30 to 45 days. This will require a law that we can work with Congress. The fourth is to provide additional fuel vouchers for agricultural producers, and we will the budget from 500 million to 1.1 billion. The first tranche we will give in March, the second tranche in April, and by that time we will have additional revenues to fund these subsidies. Going further, number five is to promote energy conservation everywhere in the private sector or in government offices. Number six is to suspend or remove the pass-through fees that are being charged by LGUs, industrial parks, or subdivisions for deliveries, for truckings, and so on. Number seven is to fully implement the service contracting, the subsidy that we give to, for instance, the buses to operate, and to expand it to all public transport routes. Number eight is to promote e-vehicles and expand access to charging stations. And number nine is to aggressively promote active transport, including bicycles. Now, many people are using LPG or liquefied petroleum gas. What we propose is to increase our buffer stock from the current 7 to 15 days. So when we expand the buffer stock, we can ensure more adequate supply and meet demand in case there is a global shortage. And this will require a new law. The next one is on coal. We use coal to power, I think, half of our power generation. And we propose to expand supply and reduce price as a result by reducing the most favored nation or MFN tariff rate, which is currently 7% to zero, temporarily until December 2022. So the effect people will feel is pass-through of lower power charges, and to maintain our buffer stock at the current 30 days minimum because we have sufficient inventory. Let me now go to the fifth recommendation for electricity. We propose as gasoline and diesel alike to promote energy conservation, including the use of sensor technology for energy saving. So once we are, for instance, overlighted, we can cut down the use of light. The next is to stagger the increase in generation charge. And I understand the power companies have agreed to this in the report of Secretary Cusi. And then number 3 and 4 is to allow foreign ownership in microgrid, solar, wind, and tidal energy. This would require revision of the IRR. This will allow more players to come in and to offset our need for more coal, which is already 3 or 4 times more expensive. And now let me go to the food side. Number 6 is our support to the overall agriculture sector, because one of the transmission, apart from energy, Mr. President, is the food. So we will implement vigorously the Plant program, part 2, subject to the availability of funds, and provide targeted fertilizer vouchers to farmers, and discuss with our bilateral partners on possible additional supply of fertilizers, which is needed for production in agriculture. Let me now go to number 7, which is rice. The Department of Agriculture has agreed to closely monitor rice inflation and the National Food Authority to closely monitor the buffer stock. We will also help the local government units increase their buffer stock so to ensure we have adequate supply in each province. And the Land Bank of the Philippines, LBP, and the Development Bank of the Philippines will provide concessional loans or funding for working capital, particularly in the procurement of post-harvest facilities and warehouses. We will also accelerate the Rice Competitiveness Enhancement Fund implementation and other parts of the National Rice Program in the budget so that we increase local production. Now, should the local production not be enough, we will temporarily import to keep prices low and make sure we have adequate rice for all Filipinos. So we propose to facilitate the continuous release of the sanitary and phytosanitary import clearances, especially for the shipment that will arrive in the lean season of July. Kasi yung gitna ng April and August is the, October rather, is the lean season. While waiting for the harvest, we may need more import. And we propose to expand supply and reduce price by extending the 35% tariff rate until December 2022. Mr. President, you have issued an executive order for this, but it will expire in June so that we maintain a good supply of rice and keep the prices low. We propose its extension. Let me now go to number 8 on corn. Corn is important as feed for poultry, for so we propose to expand supply and reduce the price by lowering the most favored nation tariff rate to 5% in quota and 15% out quota, and allow a minimum access volume where they can avail of the lower tariff rate of 4 million metric ton until the end of the year. So this is temporary to ensure that we have adequate feed so that we can buy chicken and pork in a cheaper price. And we will import more feed wheat and produce more cassava because these are substitutes for feeds for chicken and for pigs, for instance. Number 9 on pork, we still have the African swine fever, but we are slowly recovering. We propose that to ensure a lower price of pork and adequate supply, we extend the lower tariff rate of 15% in quota, out quota, 25% out quota with a MAV or minimum access volume of 200 metric ton until December 2022. Presently, Mr. President, may EO tayo until May, but we deem it is necessary to extend this to ensure lower price for the people and adequate supply. We also propose to accelerate the release of imported pork from the cold storage. So marami pong na-import na pork, but we have to release it for the people's consumption, especially outside NCR. We propose also to pass the livestock and dairy bill now pending in the Senate kasi ito yung tutulong talaga sa hog raisers and to increase our dairy production. And finally, to remove all the non-tariff barriers that prevent the smooth or proper importation of pork. Number 10 is on fish. We have a big shortage of fish. So we propose the issuance of a CNI or a certificate for the necessity small city to import small pelagic fish from the ocean tulad ng gonggong from the second quarter to the fourth quarter. Our estimate is we need it to fill an additional 140,000 metric ton because we have a supply gap of 200,000 metric ton. So yung na-release na import allocation is 60,000. So we need to increase this. So the end result is adequate supply so that the people can have lower price for fish and also to remove all other non-tariff barriers. Let me now go to number 11 on chicken. We propose, bilisan natin, accelerate the release of the sanitary and phytosanitary clearances from the National Meat Inspection Service, cold storage warehouses, so that we can increase yung inventory and supply. kasi hindi pa tayo umaabot sa pre-COVID-19 pandemic level. So mayroon pa tayong shortage sa chicken. And the people who eat chicken, for instance, Chicken Joy, nafe-feel nila tong crunch and the higher price. Number 12 po sa sugar, we have to address a court temporary restraining order that prevent us from pursuing yung sugar import natin. And the economic team has proposed that we allow direct importation by the industrial users, yung mga food manufacturers, beverage manufacturer, on a 1-to-1 ratio. So they will buy 50% from the domestic to help our farmers, pero kulang po yan, so we have to import the extra that is needed so that we can help our food producers also. Number 13 on wheat, no, this is needed for bread production, for pasta, spaghetti, is to expand our sources of wheat, and India is offering to provide, for instance, an additional supply of wheat. We have a project, yung Pinoy Tasty Project, so that we promote and buy local bread na masarap naman. And we promote non-wheat flour substitute, such as yung Sagip Nutri flour na gawa sa cassava, sweet potato, mongo, and banana flour. All of these are meant to ensure that we have adequate bread at affordable prices. And finally, Mr. President, since itong renewable energy and agriculture napakahalaga sa atin, we propose that we include it in the Strategic Investment Priority Plan under the Board of Investment para mabigyan ng sapat na attention, may investors na pumasok para i-increase yung supply ng ating pagkain at yung energy. So, Mr. President, this is the recommendation of the Economic Development Cluster to alleviate the impact of the Russia-Ukraine crisis on the people.